It's a sad thing to do, but you'll have to get rid of a third of the water and put a third of fresh water in. Now be smart about it and put that 1/3 of water away in a tank, because you can reintroduce that into the system later as top up and reuse it again so you don't waste water. After about 6 or 8 weeks, you'll find that the system will have balanced nicely. You'll know that by your water tests, because the ammonia in your test every day will be quite low and remain fairly constantly low, and you'll be able to detect nitrates and nitrite in your system that is being used up by the plants. You'll be able to detect that in the water tests. Here we have a freshwater test kit that we use regularly to test our water, especially in the early stages. Remember what we said about when we're cycling our system, that we need to test our water daily, and that's absolutely imperative. Don't think that you can get away without testing it, because in the first 6 to 8 weeks you must test your water daily, and from then on I recommend you test your water at least weekly, or if some event occurs. For example, if you take some fish out of the system, or you have a fish die, or something appears not to be right, first thing you do is test the water to see what's happening. Now there's three tests that we're really interested in, and that is pH, ammonia and nitrate. We can also test for nitrite, but that's not quite so important, because if the nitrate is there and the ammonia is there, then the nitrite will be there in the middle. But as a matter of interest, you should do that occasionally, but not necessary every time. So we'll start off by doing an ammonia test. We have a vial here which we fill with water from our system. You'll notice there's a mark on the side of the vial. You just flick it like so till you get the water down to level with the mark. See that there? We've got it down to level with the mark. Now we just need to put it down for a second, and we get out our ammonia test bottle, and we'll notice that they're in two. There's bottle 1 and there's bottle 2. And the instructions are clearly shown on each bottle. This one says add 8 drops, so we'll do that. We've got a kiddie proof lid on it. You have to hold that to one side while you unscrew the lid, and we'll just carefully add 8 drops. Okay, there's 8 drops. We'll put the lid on our vial like so, and we'll give it a little shake. Then we'll leave it stand for 30 seconds or so right there while we prepare our next bottle. Second bottle, bottle number 2, clearly labelled 8 more drops. So we'll get our vial under our lid and add 8 drops. Okay, fasten the lid, put our top back on and give it a good shake. Now we have to leave it stand for about 5 minutes for the dye to take, and will give us a reading. When the 5 minutes is up, we have cards here. You can see these cards that come with the kit, the colour cards that will give us, and here's the ammonia colour card. And judging by the colour that the material will become, we'll see what our ammonia level is. Now in a system normal, we would call normal in this range here. Those first 3 colours is normal. When it starts to get down to that colour, the alarm bell should be ringing. It's time for you to start doing something like reducing the amount of food you're giving your fish, or adding some more water perhaps if the water level's gone down. If you get down to this level, and if you get down to here, you're going to have dead fish, I'm sorry to tell you. So that's the safe range. That's let's take some notice range, and here we're in trouble range if it keeps going that far. Okay, let's examine our vial. A couple of minutes have gone by, and we can see there's really not much change happening, but I would say that we're between here and here. Is that what you'd say? I think it's between there and there, maybe between there and there. But anyway, the range is perfectly within normal. We would expect to find some ammonia in the system, because quite logically, if there was no ammonia at all, it would mean that we've got miles too many grow beds, or we've got dead fish or something. There's no fish in the system, because the fish generate ammonia in their normal everyday activity. So there must be some ammonia in the system. So don't be alarmed if you always test and you always find like this that you're going to get an ammonia reading like we have. We're going to prepare our second vial, and our second test we're going to do today is a test for nitrate. We want to know if there's nitrate in the system, and that will show that our bacteria, our 2 lots of good bacteria, are doing their work and converting the ammonia from ammonia to nitrite, and then from nitrite to nitrate. So we're going to test for nitrate. We've filled our vial, we've shaken it down till it's level with the line, the same as we did with the ammonia test. We also should make sure that we've washed the vial out first with some water from the fish system, so that we don't have it contaminated with the previous test. And this is one thing we don't do. We don't put our finger over the end of it and shake it like that, because we may have some sort of contaminant on our finger that will affect the test and give us a wrong reading. So because I've done that now, I'll have to start again. wash the bottle out, and get a fresh lot of water in the bottle, in the vial, sorry, and shake it down till I've got it at the right level, which is right there. And now I'll get my bottles of nitrate tester. Here we go, and there's same again. There's bottle 1 and bottle 2, and the instructions are clear on the front of the bottles. And in this case we add 10 drops. So once again, the kiddie safe lid, we'll undo the lid and we'll count 10 drops into our vial. Because I'm a boy, I can't do 2 things at once. I can only count. I have to stop talking while I count. We'll give it a shake, same as we did before. Let it settle for a minute, and then we'll get bottle number 2. Make sure you check the label. Yes, this is bottle number 2. I'll take the lid off and I'll add 10 drops to the vial. Fasten the lid back on so it's kiddie proof, and we'll give it a good shake. Now the same thing again, we need to leave that sit for 5 minutes or so to let the chemical do its trick, and we'll then find the card which tells us freshwater nitrate. That's this card here, and we'll see the same as before. We've got levels that are safe and not safe. Normal readings would be in this range here, from top down to the bottom, down to halfway through. I'm sorry. If you have readings right down to here, then it's time to do something about it. Remember, nitrates won't immediately kill your fish like ammonia will. Ammonia is deadly poisonous to the fish. Nitrates won't kill them straight away. You could actually have high concentrations of nitrate for some time before it would start to damage your fish. But it's still not an ideal situation. Therefore, I like to apply the same rule for nitrate levels. When you're down to the halfway mark, it's time to do something about it. And the way to deal with nitrates, of course, is 1, stop feeding the fish, so you cut down on the cycle a little bit, or a smarter way is to plant more plants so we get more veggies to use up the nitrates. Okay, a few minutes have passed by now and we'll look at our vial. And let's examine the colour. This is a good healthy system we've got running here, so we can see by the colour that there are nitrates present. Not too many, it's quite good actually. I'd say that colour is somewhere between there and there. And so we've got some nitrates in the system. We're now going to do a pH test. Now pH is very important. Once again, Mother Nature is amazing. Once the system is in balance, you'll find the pH will remain steady, somewhere between 6 and 7. It's just amazing. I find that with these clay pebbles in a system, the pH tends to be a little bit on the lower side, whereas when I use ordinary gravel, the pH tends to be up just a little on the high side of 6. I think the reason for that is because of the type of stone it is, but I'm not really sure about that, but I think that's what it is, because those kind of results are fairly consistent. pH is very important to the bacteria. If the pH is too low or too high, you'll find it'll damage your bacteria colony. And besides that, it's not good for the fish anyway, and a lot of the plants don't like to grow outside that pH range. So the ideal is to keep our pH in that range. When we're cycling the system first up in that, remember that 6 or 8 weeks we talked about, you may have quite large pH swings in that period of time. You may need to add some pH down, or in the case of raising your pH up, you may have to use some bicarbonate of soda to raise your pH up a bit. But once again, when you do it very gently. And I'm only talking about the first 6 or 8 weeks of the system while it's still cycling. Once the system's cycled, you'll be absolutely amazed at Mother Nature, how the system will settle down to a pH of somewhere between 6 and 7, depending on your area that you live in and the stone you've used, and it will just remain there rock solid. It's absolutely marvellous. Anyway, we'll test this system now and we'll see what we've got. We have a high range solution and we have a standard solution. I'm going to do the test with the standard solution because I expect my system to be in the normal range between 6 and 7. If when I'm cycling sometimes, cycling the system in that first 6 or 8 weeks, we may find that we have a rapid rise in pH, and that's why we need this other test to see how high it has really gone. But under most circumstances, when the system is cycled, we just use this one here. Once again, it's clearly labelled, pH test, and we can see there is 3 drops required. Put the solution in, add our cap, and we'll give it a bit of a shake. Once again, we'll give it a couple of minutes to settle down. We'll pick up our vial, we've let it stand for a minute or two, and we're going to compare it with our chart. And this is our standard range chart, and you can see that the colour of this fluid will give us a reading of exactly 6 actually. So that bears out what I thought would happen. Because we're using the expanded clay pebbles, and these clay pebbles tend to be slightly on the low side as far as pH goes,